Hello team! So in this lesson of the exam techniques module, we're going through what to do when things go wrong during the exam. So for a lot of people, something might go wrong and we hope it doesn't, but you're doing loads and loads of exams, so eventually something's not going to go quite to plan. But what separates the good from the best are the people that know what to do in these situations. So I'm going to go through a few strategies that you should use so that you don't panic during the exam and you can still get the best marks even if something comes up that you don't really know what to do with. So like I said, I want to give you this overall exam strategy so that when you go in, you have a plan for if everything goes well and if a question comes up that you might not know how to answer. So let's go into it. So first off, people ask me what the optimal order is to answer questions. So people go into real depths with this and they look at the marks, they see where they get the most marks. They might say, oh, if I do the essay, that gives me the most marks, so I can start there. Don't complicate it. The exams are designed so that it's easiest for you to go from the start to the finish. And so open it up and start from question 1 and just work your way through. Just understand where the marks are coming from. So don't waste loads of times on the short 1-mark questions and make sure you're keeping up with the average mark a minute. So, like I said, sometimes things come up and really you can split all the questions into, 4 categories, right? So the first category, which I haven't got in this slide, is you know the answer and you've done it. Okay, and you don't really have to do anything extra for that. Then there's 3 other categories where you do have to put a bit more thought in terms of what happens if you look at the question, you have absolutely no idea how to answer it. Now, hopefully, because we've prepared and we've gone through the specification, we won't run into many of those. In fact, I think I went through all my A-levels without encountering a question like that. But I'll tell you what to do just in case. But where you might get a few more questions in this category are probably able to work it out, but it's probably going to take a lot of time. So you think, I could answer this, but it's going to take me ages, and it's only worth a couple marks. It's not worth me wasting my time on it now. I should finish the rest of the paper and carry on. The next one is that you've answered it, but you're not sure whether it's right, so you'd like to check it or change it. And I'll show you what to do in each of these cases. So first off, you have absolutely no idea. First off, don't panic. Some people really fret. They see the question, especially if it's the first question. That's like the worst one to have where you don't know how to answer it. But you just don't panic. Be confident in yourself. You've done lots of work. Okay, one question's come that you don't know. Now, what I would say is just make an educated guess. Write anything in it, just so it's filled in, because you don't get negative marks. And then just put a tick next to the question, one that you can see easily, and then move on. And what you'll be doing is at the end of the paper, you'll be coming back and I'll be showing you what order to do that in the next lesson. So what about if you're probably able to work it out? So usually you have some preliminary work, so just keep it. And then put an asterisk next to the question number and then move on. And we'll come back to that at the end. So like I said, you can get to the answer and you've started working it out, but it's going to take too long now. So you just keep that work there. Don't cross it out, because sometimes you get marks for the preliminary work, and say you didn't get enough time to come back to it, then if you crossed it all out, you won't get any marks. If you leave it there, you might get a mark or 2. And put a big asterisk next to the question number. So far you've got a tick next to the question number if you don't know what's to do with it and you've just guessed. And then you've got an asterisk next to the ones which you've half worked out and you need to come back to. And then you've got something that you've answered, but you would like to check ideally. So always, as I said, always keep everything you've written and answered, even if you think it's stupid. But here you've answered it, but you just want to check it. And just highlight it somehow. And I don't mean with an actual highlighter. We've used a tick, we used an asterisk, use something else. Maybe you could circle the question number, I don't know. Something like that. Whatever will get your attention. And then come back to it if you have time. But first off, you need to prioritize the questions you haven't answered. So you'd want to be going back to probably able to work out, right? And then go back to the absolutely no idea if you haven't answered. And then there's random problems. And I'm sure we're going to add to these problems as you guys tell me what problems you've had. I just thought of the ones I had, and other than those questions that I've just given you, it's like, what if you ran out of room? Because you're not allowed to use a pencil, because they say someone could rub it out and put the right answer there. So you have to use a pen. And sometimes I'd write the answer and then I'd check it, and actually I didn't think it was right, so I crossed it all out. But now I've got no room. So you've got to be really clear to the examiner where you've written it. So you could put in little brackets next to the question, like just where you're supposed to put the answer. Answer at bottom of page, and maybe put a big arrow down to there, like around the questions. Wherever you've written the answer, just find a space, but make sure you've made it really clear where you've written it. And you try and keep it on the same page as the question that you're answering, because the way they do the way they mark, if you imagine they get all the papers on the same page and they just go through each one, and that's so they can quickly just do all the same questions. They know what the answer is because they've just done it hundreds of times. And if your answer's on a different page, they may not want to go hunting for it. Like I said, you want to keep it easy for them. All right, and let me just go over one other point. So you see this, the absolutely no idea. It's happened to me loads where you go to the paper, it's usually one of the first questions, and this has happened in GCSE, I really remember. And I also have had it in my medical exams, actually. And you look at the question, you have no idea how to answer it. You just don't know. So you mark it, and then you move on, and you go through the paper, and guess what? Something in another question somewhere gives you an idea. It throws back the information into your head, or even sometimes it literally gives you a bit part of the answer in the question. So just don't panic, because if you go through the paper, you might find the answer. And that's why it's important to come back to these, because once you've gone through the whole paper, it sometimes sparks some memories, and you can answer the question by the end. Okay, so please just do as I say, trust the process. Hopefully you won't have many of these, but if you do, like I said, don't panic and just make an educated guess and put a tick next to it. All right. So anyway, guys, I'm going to show you how you're going to approach the paper once you get to the end in the next lesson. But just for now, just keep in your head that there's 4 categories of questions: ones that you answer, ones you have absolutely no idea, ones that you could probably work out you need more time, and then ones that you've answered but you want to check. And you need to differentiate them so that you know what you need to do at the end of the paper. Okay? So until then, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.